So we're in Leicester today for a protest. It's a trans rights protest. So 2 weeks ago, there was a Supreme Court ruling that basically said that for the definition of sex, purely for the Equality Act 2010, was based on what they termed as biological sex, even though there's actually not a definition of biological sex. But what that actually meant was the sex that a person is assigned at birth. And of course, that automatically bars all trans people. And consequently, since then, there's been some misinformation and some misguidance that's been put out by the Equality and Human Rights Commission and also by the Equalities Minister. Now banning trans women from using women's loos and trans men from using men's loos. And it's causing so much anxiety. I know of 7 trans people since that ruling who have attempted to take their own life. That's 2 trans women and 5 trans children. One trans woman, she's 74 years old. She transitioned 30 years ago. Fully transitioned, got a gender recognition certificate, fully accepted as female by all her friends and everybody who meets her, but she just couldn't go on any longer. This is the harm that is being done at the moment, and people need to wake up to it. And so what we're trying to do is draw attention to that. We're just trying to get as many people to come together as possible and to have a peaceful but very noisy demonstration.
So first of all women should be worried. Let me repeat that. All women should be worried. Now, let me explain. So after the last 2 weeks in the UK, there's been day after day of bad news for not just trans people, non-binary people and intersex people, but for all women and for all service providers too. On the 16th of April, we had the Supreme Court ruling which said that sex is binary, which it isn't, because 1% of people are intersex. Yeah. They also said that for the purposes of the Equality Act 2010, that only sex means biological sex, which in their scientifically incorrect definition is the sex that a person is assigned at birth. This, of course, rules out all trans people. Not that they care, as they refuse to hear evidence from a single trans person. Yeah, even though their decision affects us massively. However, there is no definition of biological sex, as sex is far more complex than that. Many factors affect sex, including hormonal balance, chromosomes, of which there are many more combinations than just XX and XY. Hormonal balance in the womb, what is written on your birth certificate, which for trans people with a gender recognition certificate would be updated. And of course, primary sex characteristics, your genitalia, and secondary sex characteristics, i.e. how masculine or feminine your physical features look, or a mixture of all of these. Gender, however, is much more straightforward, as it's a deep-seated feeling of how male or how female you are. You don't choose it, you just know it. In a similar way that you know who you're sexually attracted to. There are different things, but it's a similar sort of way. It's just what feels right. The court ruling was bad enough, but then things got worse. Within a few days of the court ruling, some interim guidance was issued by the trans-hostile Equality and Human Rights Commission, which is chaired by the trans-hostile Baroness Kishwar Faulkner, who, I thought I was going to hear a boo then. Thank you. There's a certain amount of audience participation that is required, by the way. Anybody who's been to my gigs will know this. Sorry, I've gone off script. I'm known for doing this. I better carry on. Okay. I'm so naughty, aren't I, Sue?
They just said it was fine.
Rights are under attack. What do we do? Louder. When trans rights are under attack, what do we do?
So we've got the stupid situation now where if the letter of the law is followed, or the guidance, not the law, because the law itself hasn't changed yet, but the guidance that's been put out, then trans men, so that's people who've transitioned from female to male, usually they've got beards, they've got muscles, deep voices, and they would be then forced to use the women's loos. And so that would make women feel a lot less safe. But also, what's happening now, because there is no way of knowing that somebody's trans. I mean, okay, I know I've got a deep voice, but usually when people see me, they don't realise that I'm trans. And when I use the loos, I keep my mouth shut so that, I don't want to cause anybody to be worried with my presence. Because when I use a loo, I just want a wee in safety just as much as everybody else does. But what the situation is now is that we're going to have vigilantes hanging around outside women's loos, filming and approaching people. Any woman who uses those loos who's got a more masculine appearance, and there are many women who do have a more masculine appearance, especially cisgender, that's non-trans lesbians, butch lesbians. A lot of those have got more masculine appearance, and they're getting a lot. It's been happening a lot anyway, and it's just get an awful lot worse. So it's actually made spaces for women a lot less safe.